Hi, I'm Liz with Liz's Crafts, and today I'm going to show you how I used Resin Crete to create these three items. So what you have is a powder called Resin Crete, and I got mine from Amazon. And I'm doing 150 grams of the powder and 45 grams of water. However, my water ended up being 46 grams, but it was close enough. And besides that, it says when you put the acrylic paint in it, you can put more water in it. So that worked out. Plus, I did put a little more water in it. You'll see that in a little bit. So I'm using this cardinal red acrylic paint. The only thing is when you mix it with the Crete, since the Crete is white, it's not going to be red. And you'll see, well, you probably saw from the picture, it's going to be a pink. So I put a little more in because it just wasn't dark enough. And then I realized later, you know what? This is never going to be red anyway. But that's okay. A red bunny probably would not have looked as good as a pink bunny. But I mix this up thoroughly. You want to scrape the bottom part of this is a solo cup, one of the clear ones, and you know the powder gets stuck up around the bottom of the rim there. The bottom. Anyway, so I want to take my spoon and get in that nook and cranny there and make sure I mix it all up. And I'm working on top of my Lazy Susan because my table, I warped it with my heat gun years ago. So this is where I add more water because it was thicker. Like I said, the package says when you add the paint, you probably need to add more water. Just a little bit, a couple of grams. So I'm just trying to get all the powder mixed up. And this is a heart mold, a little trinket tray, I guess you could call it. You could put your rings or whatever in it. And I was going to go ahead and pour that, and then I realized, you know, there's a lot of bubbles in this. So I just took my heat gun and was popping some of the bubbles with it. And I borrowed this mold from my neighbor. Thanks, Lonnie. Appreciate it. And then you're supposed to like kind of bounce the mold a little bit to get more of the bubbles out. And as I did that, the bubbles came up to the top. So I did some more heat on them and popped them. And each time I did this, more bubbles came up. So I just kept using the heat gun. I don't know if maybe I stirred this one too fast or what. I'm not sure why there were so many bubbles. But yeah, that's what you want to do to your mold. It says so on the directions. It doesn't say anything about the heat gun, but I find that the heat gun does help pop the bubbles. Just keep doing it until I get as many of the bubbles out of it as I can. And now this is a bunny mold. And I am going to use my heat gun on the Crete that's in the cup before I pour it in the mold. Again, this mold I got from my neighbor Lonnie. Thank you. Appreciate it. Now, originally, these were the only two molds I was going to make with my 150 grams of Crete, but I had a little bit left over. Again, I'm just working the bubbles out. Putting a little bit more in the heart. Probably did not need to do that. I was just trying to get rid of the Crete without wasting it. But I should have just, you know, not done that with the heart. And then I got this other mold, and it's a jewelry mold. So I thought, well, let me try this out. And I'm using a, oh man, I don't know what you call these things. A dropper, I guess. Yeah, a dropper. And I'm just squeezing the Crete from the dropper into my mold there. Again, using my heat gun to get out the bubbles. You have about 8 minutes to work with this Crete before it hardens up and you can't use it anymore. So you want to work pretty fast. I still had a little bit of Crete left, so I'm thinking, okay, what do I do? What do I do? Put a little bit more in this one. Still didn't want to throw the rest of it away. I guess I got a little ahead of myself. So popping the bubbles. Now this is where I take the rest of it. I only had enough to do one of these. But, you know, I'm just using up the Crete. I don't do anything with it in the video. In fact, it's still laying on my table. And when you clean this stuff up, you just clean it up with water and it cleans up real good, even the dropper. So you just, you know, suck up some water in that dropper when you're ready to clean it out and kind of swish it around a little bit and it cleans right up. And this stuff doesn't have any fumes. It doesn't have a smell to it or anything. It does get a little warm when you're mixing it, but not very much. And now this has been over 30 minutes because you're supposed to, you can demold it after 30 minutes. Mine was a little bit longer because I was doing something else and didn't get back to it. So it was probably about 45 minutes. So I'm just taking these out of the mold. They look pretty good. And then these extra little pieces off of this, I'm just going to pick them off with my finger. Don't want to break it. And I'm just going around this one. It looks pretty good, actually. There's those two pieces. Not bad at all. And this one, I probably over poured it a little bit. So it did have a little bit more around it that I needed to pick off. But you do need to be careful with it because it will break. So there are those pieces. This piece on the back side was bumped up a little bit, so I just scraped it with my fingernail. Those look pretty good. And then here's my heart. I'm going to demold it. Well, first I'm going to go around the edges because I can't really get to my mold because I did over pour it. I should have just left it alone instead of putting more of the Crete in it. But that's just how I roll. Okay, so now I'm going to take the mold off. And look at that. Isn't that pretty? Now, I don't know why that one spot is lighter in the middle of it. But I did have a little extra on the bottom there where it was sticking out of the mold. And I had overfilled it. So I'm just going to sand that down a little bit. Once you sand it down, you can just wipe it with a towel or paper towel or whatever. But there's the little trinket heart. Isn't it cute? And then here's the bunny. This mold was like extra soft. But even so, I mean, it's probably been about 50 minutes or so since this was poured, and I'm able to get it out of the mold. Not bad. There he is. He's got his little ears bent down back behind him. He's so cute. He's such a cute bunny. And I'm just going to get that little excess off around his feet there. So I'm just using this little scraper tool to go around his feet to get the excess off. Don't really have to do too much. Then I'm going to use my sander there and sand it down so it looks a little bit better. Not going very hard at it, just very lightly. And there they are, the bunny and the heart dish. There's the earring components, which I'm going to sand down a little bit. There's all the pieces. And there's that extra piece there. So I just work on it a little bit with sanding, either using my fingernail file there or my hand sander. And now these have dried overnight. So I'm going to use this glossy finish on it. This I had gotten from Hobby Lobby years ago, and just going to use it. I'm going to use this really soft brush here, and I'm just going to paint that on there, and you can see it makes the pink a little bit darker, and it does kind of stay that way. So I actually put 2 coats on, you know, letting them dry in between. And I do it all over, the inside, outside, you know, the whole thing. The bunny and the heart. But yeah, it does give it a glossy finish. And it does darken up the pink a little bit. And I think they look pretty cute. Now I'm going to do the same thing to my other pieces. I do the top, the bottom, the inside, and the outside. Oh, and this one I'm going to add decoupage a napkin on it. So once I lay it on there on top of my decoupage stuff there, my gloss, I am going to put another coat on top of it. This is just a leftover piece of napkin that I had used on previous DIYs, probably a couple years ago. And I just set these aside to dry. And then I'm going to do the little round ones too. And I want to do them using the poppies. I love poppies. And then I flip it over, and this is where I put the gloss on the back side. And then make sure I get the inside and the outside. And just do the same thing with the rounds there. So there's the bunny. He's all done. And the glossy stuff is, you know, dry to the touch. But look, isn't he cute? He's so cute. And then the heart trinket holder there, which I did put some jewelry in it. It's sitting in my on my makeup counter. And now I'm taking my sander there, and I'm going along the edge of the napkin very lightly. And then I'm just going to use my fingernail to go along the inside. I guess I do that later. But anyway, so I went ahead and did the same thing with these little circles here. And now I'm just punching out the holes, because these circles have a hole on each end. So I'm just making sure those are clear of the napkin. So there it is. Now this is where I punch out the center part of the napkin in these rings. So just use my fingernail. And then I punch out the hole. There's one hole in it. So I make sure that's uncovered. There are those, and then those. I think they look pretty good. Now I'm just gonna use UV resin on top, because I think if you don't do that, these would be very easily broken. So I'm just gonna put a layer of the UV resin on it, and I'm spreading it out with my toothpick. Now when you do this, you do want to avoid the hole. Mine got in the hole and I had problems, and I'll tell you about those in a little bit. I was pretty disappointed in myself. Now I'm going to do the little circles there, making sure that I don't cover up the holes. Don't get the UV in the holes. It would have been okay if I didn't do that in the rings. But yeah, I was sad, because I actually had plans on giving these to someone. Well, that didn't work out. So I put this under the UV light for 2 minutes. And there they are, done. They got that UV shine on them. They're looking pretty good. Except for one thing, the rings, the holes are closed up. And now I'm going to do the back side. And there it is, all done under the UV for 2 minutes and all that. And now I'm going to do the outer edges and the inner edges. So I'm just put some UV on my mat there and spread it, and then I put it under the UV lamp. So this is the one piece I was able to salvage. I was able to get the hole cleaned out, but it did break, and I added some more UV to it. And it did make an earring, so I'll really only have one earring there. That's what I have. Just one. There, you'll see the other one. See that? Ugh. All that work, and for what? For nothing. I guess that's what happens. And see, there's where that one had broken, because I was taking a nail and a hammer trying to get the hole cleaned out, because that UV resin, once it hardens, boy, I mean, there ain't no getting into it, putting a hole or anything else. So yeah, I busted it. But these, I was able to clear the holes. Well, not clear the holes. I didn't get the UV resin in the holes, thank goodness. So I am still going to make a pair of earrings, but it's not going to be what I wanted. But it does turn out okay. So we'll use these rounds, and I put my jump ring and my ear wire in one set of the holes, and now I'm taking some chain, and I do 3 pieces of chain. One that has 10 little chains, one that has 8, and one that has 6. And I do that for each of the earrings. So there's 3 different size chains for each earring. 6, 8, and 10. And I'm just using jump rings to apply the Swarovski crystal heart, which these are pink, and put the chain on. So as you can see, I'm doing 3 of those there. So I'll have 3 hearts for each earring. So I was able to make a pair of earrings. It wasn't really what I had wanted to make, but it turned out okay. and I am going to give it to that person. I can't tell you about it because it's a surprise. And then I just attach the jump ring to the bottom of the circle there, and then add the 3 chains with the heart on them, and then I close it up. And these do turn out nice. I like them. Just not what I had wanted to make, unfortunately. And there it is with the 3 different lengths of chain and hearts. I think it's cute. So here's all 3 pieces. You'll have to let me know which one's your favorite, the cute little bunny, the heart dish, or the earrings. And again, I'm Liz with Liz's Crafts, and if you like what you see, give me a thumbs up. And if you haven't already subscribed and you want to, please feel free to do so. And I post 3 videos a week, Monday, Wednesday, and Friday.